know the principles of leadership. And my approach to leadership is very different. It's not about definitions of what is leadership, types of leadership. No, it is experiential. So I do spiritual dispatches, and I also do intellectual dispatches. When I'm sitting at home at Soy, under the tree, sometimes I get into reading, and I have this discernment to do something. So I've been reading very interesting works, and I'll show you the works. And I will encourage some of you to go into those works and just expand your reading as a leader. And the work of Jonathan Edwards has influenced my life immensely. So Monica Ndambuki, start reading for us this person, Jonathan Edwards, as a spiritual dispatch.
Prophet, like you usually want to do prayers. I don't know if it's part of it.
No, we'll come to prayers.
Okay.
This is part of the devotion.
All right, thank you.
This is part of the devotion. Yeah, it's a spiritual dispatch. We will do prayers, but this is part of it. We are going to ask God to allow us to have the mind of John Edwards. Go ahead, Monica.
Spiritual Dispatches by Laban P. Ayiro, January 2022, Nairobi, Kenya. Jonathan Edwards. Jonathan Edwards, 1703 to 1758, is widely acknowledged to the American most important and original philosophical theologian. His work as a whole is an expression of two themes: the absolute sovereignty of God and the beauty of God holiness. The first is articulated in Edwards' defense of theological determinism, in a doctrine of occasionalism, and in his insistence that physical objects are only collection of sensible ideas, while finite minds are mere assemblage of thoughts or perception, as the only real cause of substance are as the only real cause or substance underlying physical and mental phenomena. God is being in general, the sum of all being. Edwards' second theme.
Pause there. Just think about it. As a human being, as a student of leadership, Jonathan Edwards died in 1758. Think about it. And this is 2026. And his spirit still lives on. Some of us, we died last week. And the following month, there is no reference to you on this earth. You didn't climb the second mountain. You did the first mountain, you went to school, you got a job, you got married, and hopefully you had children. Most of you want to have one child. Hopefully you had children. And I teach statistics, so I know the value of numbers and probability. And then you die. Can you see a human being, and I want this class to engage with this thought. How many years ago did this man die? And he is still widely acknowledged to be America's most important and original philosophical theologian. And I wanted Monica to emphasize that his work as a whole is an expression of two themes: the absolute sovereignty of God, and then the beauty of God's holiness. So, and we are talking of God. and we are descendants of the Abrahamic beginnings. So whether you are a Muslim or a Christian or Jewish, the sovereignty, the absolute sovereignty of God. If you are doing a course in leadership, then you must adhere to that standard, that God is sovereign. Then you'll be a good leader. Will you be perfect? No. We all have shortcomings. But you recognize, even in your iniquities, that there is a sovereign God. And then the beauty of God's holiness. And the sovereign of God, he has argued it as a theologian. I don't want to go there. But the idea of God's holiness is so important in the person who becomes a leader. So God is sovereign. That means being in general, but is also a sum of all being of what you do. When I walk into your home in Siaya, or when I walk into your home in Mandera, do I see your tender care of Mother Nature? I'm talking about God's holiness. Do I see you, when I walk into your home, am I impressed at the ecosystem you have established in your home? Even if I walk into your house in Nairobi, do I see order? Or in the US, do I see order? Why do you think these Wazungus, during winter like now, they are covering pipes, they are, wanatafuta makaratasi kuweka kwa maua, wanafanya nini? Why do they do those things? And why is it when spring comes, their flowers are planted, sprouted, and they're running the lawns around their compounds? That is an expression of the two themes: the absolute sovereignty of God and the beauty of God's holiness. Vincent, pick up from there.
Thank you. Edward's second theme is articulated in accounts of God's end in creation and of the nature of true virtue and true beauty. God creates in order to manifest a holiness which consists in a benevolence which alone is truly beautiful. Genuine human virtue is an imitation of divine benevolence, and all finite beauty is an image of divine loveliness. True virtue is needed to discern this beauty, however, and to reason rightly about divine things. Edward's projected history of redemption would have drawn these themes together, for it is in his redemptive work in history that God's sovereignty, holiness, and beauty are most clearly exhibited.
Yeah. Remember, you are now philosophers in the making. I am saying that leadership is anchored in you as a leader, knowing that God is sovereign. And there is a sum of all being that is presented by God to us, to you. And that beauty has to be exhibited. So let me ask you about the Republic of Kenya. I read a very disturbing statistic that 60% of Kenyans don't have proper sanitation. 60% of Kenyans don't have viable toilets. That's what it was saying. So just think about it. Just think about how fundamental that is. So what is leadership in this context? Those are the things I want to trouble your mind. That when you are given that space of leadership, even at family level, sometimes it doesn't have to be the man, it can be the lady. I've seen mamas who take up leadership of the families because the husband is busy doing other things, or she's just a leader. God's sovereign or sovereignty, holiness, and beauty have to be exhibited from you as a leader. And I take it back to you that this is Jonathan's work, and this is somebody who died in 1758. So what will be your legacy? How long will your legacy last? And you know, when you're given a position of leadership, then God is saying something. So what will you leave behind? And I would like us to, all of us, to be truly engaged. Ian Orunga. Ian Orunga. And when you are given a chance to read, please let us see your face. If we can't, then we move to somebody else so that we begin to internalize
Thank
people.
you, Prof.
Yes, Orunga, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm hoping I'm clear. I'm on transit, but that you can hear me.
We can hear you, but we can't see you. But go on, Orunga. Read us the paragraph, Jonathan Edwards, and living a transformed life. I hope you're not driving. I hope you're not driving.
No, I'm not driving.
Okay, please.
I'm not driving.
Yeah.
Jonathan Edwards and living a transformed life. If I made a list of all the theologians I've seen caricaturized and justifiably dismissed.
Caricaturized. The caricature. To caricature ni kuchora emojis and the others, those things, yes.
Justifiably dismissed or just plain misunderstood. Jonathan Edwards will be near the top. He is perhaps best known for sinners in the hands of an angry God, a hellfire and brimstone that depicted all humanity suspended above the realm of the dead, completely at the mercy of God's righteous indignation. You hang by a splendid thread. Edward spoke strong rhythm, with the flames of divine wrath flashing about it, and ready every moment to singe it and burn it asunder. The infamy of that single sermon.
We can't hear you. We've
John
lost
Piper
you.
puts it.
No, go back. Go back.
The infamy of that single sermon can cause many of us to consider Edwards, as John Piper puts it, a gloomy, sullen morose, perhaps pathological misanthrope who fell into grotesque religious pit, the way some people fall into obscenity. But Edward's life is filled with wisdom we can apply to our own times and trials. And he has a lot to teach us about living out our values.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Runga. Jonathan Edwards, when you get this handout, I'll want you to click on what I have linked there, that blue, it will take you to the sermon he gave. Sinners in the hands of an angry God. And he was just telling people the truth. He was preaching hellfire and brimstone that depicted all humanity suspended above the realm of the dead, completely at the mercy of God's righteous indignation. So, if you read that, it tells you why many people hated Edwards. Because of bring out the message the way he brought it. But now, we realize that the infamy of that single sermon made people judge Edwards very harshly. But later on, we find that his life is filled with wisdom we can apply to our own times and trials. And he has a lot to teach us about living out our values. By the way, this extract, I got it from a longer article. I'll show you the article. He was a prolific writer. So I was just tying up the ideas I got from those articles. I would like us to go to Mwikali, Ivy Donna. Are you there? And I really would like to see faces. If I can't see faces, then we are not achieving the intention of this course. Are you there? Not there. Evelyn Nandio. Are we there? Patrick Kilonzo.
Yes, I'm here, Prof.
Please, are we able to see you?
Yes.
Good, let's see you. And who was Edwards?
Okay, I start reading.
Yeah, who was Edwards?
In reality, Edwards was much more than a fire and brimstone preacher. Sinners in the hands of an angry God constitutes only a small part of his writings, as a quick glance at his many sermon titles will prove.
So when you get this article, please click on that link, that blue link. It will give you many of his articles. And you don't have to read all of them, but you can read a few of them just to consolidate who this person was. Yeah, go on, sorry.
Okay, and though Edwards faithfully studied sermon titles and affirmed the doctrines he found in Scripture, those doctrines were not relegated only to his Sunday pulpit. From the time of his conversion as a late teen, Edward showed a remarkable intentionality in living, but all his life to the glory and praise of God.
Yes. And I want us to pause there. Who was Edwards? Although he was judged harshly, has been judged harshly for the sermon, the fire and brimstone sermon on sinners in the hands of an angry God, when you come to read many of his other sermons, you realize that he faithfully studied and affirmed the doctrines he found in Scripture. And from the time of his conversion, Edwards showed a remarkable intentionality in living out all his life to the glory and praise of God. ladies and gentlemen, I have challenged myself and challenged my faculty and challenged Kenyans that we are not just fair. We are not living up to God's holiness and beauty when we assemble students for graduate studies in master's and PhD, and they sit in our universities for donkey years, and then we think we are demonstrating how tough we are. I refuse. And I am ready. I've kept on telling people, you can audit me. You are over 120. Each one of you, as your first supervisor, will see my hand on your chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. It can be done. I've also said, we shall teach you constructs of leadership and policy that should actually cause formation. For me, they should cause formation in you. You must, within yourself, begin to see that there is a difference. So for me, I'm a student of Edwards, because Edwards showed a remarkable intentionality in living out all his life to the glory and praise of God. And that is my desire in you people. Very good reading. Thank you very much. The next reader, Thinking Well. And remember, this is part of our sermon today. I don't know whether Kaeli is on this call. Kilonzo, that was very good reading. Jeffries Kaeli, are you there? Can we see you? If we can't, then we'll ask Caroline Awor Oduor.
Yes, Prof, I'm here.
Yeah,
Okay.
you are there. Okay, Kaeli, you are there. Then
Yes, I'm
Oduor
here.
will come next. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thinking well. Part of Edward's intentionality resided in his intellect. His sharp mind is evident in his many writings, in which he would often make long, detailed answers to questions some of us may struggle to even comprehend. In Jonathan Edwards and the Ministry of the Word, scholar Douglas A. Sweeney goes so far as to call Edwards the most influential thinker in all of evangelical history.
Imagine.
Indeed,
Pause. Imagine. Let's not forget where we are with Edwards. I'm talking of 1758. And today, Douglas Sweeney is a very highly rated scholar. And he says this of Edwards, the most influential thinker in all of evangelical history. So I'll want you to go here on this blue link, hyperlink, and click on it, and it will take you to the site to look at Jonathan Edwards and the Ministry of the Word by Sweeney. Carry on.
Indeed, Edwards had an incredible mind. He began his study of Latin at age 6, and he entered Yale by the time he turned 12, eventually graduating.
No, that is not Yala River. He entered Yale, one of the top universities in the world. Okay, go on, repeat.
Yes.
Just start again. That's
and
simple.
he entered Yale. And he entered Yale by the time he turned 12, eventually graduating valedictorian of his class.
Pause.
After beginning his master's.
Yeah. Valedictorian first class honors. First class honors. When you're using the GPS system. And look at this, 12. He entered Yale university at the age of 12. This person had so much grace from God. To study Latin at the age of 6, he had so much favor from God. Carry on.
After beginning his master's degree at 17, he made his mark writing on a plethora of philosophical and theological topics. When reading books too, he often had a pen in hand not to record the thoughts of others, but to note his own ideas and musings. Thus, he was constantly experiencing and analyzing other thinkers, using their perspectives to catalyze and refine his own. His commitment to learning and deep thought is something we can emulate in our own lives by reading from notable thinkers and working to understand their ideas.
Thank you. Wonderful reading. Now, I think it's important that there are things I want us to pick here, thinking well. First of all, appreciate that Edwards was just exceptional and must have had special grace from God. But look at this, note this. After beginning his master's degree at 17 would have been in Form 3, he made his mark writing on a plethora of philosophical and theological topics. Just means hundreds and hundreds of articles. Now, this is what I want out of you. When reading books, he often had a pen in hand, not to record the thoughts of others, but to note his own ideas and musings. That is what is called annotation. So when you are reading this small book by Ayiro, you are supposed to have a pen and a highlighter, and you are writing your own interpretation. I was reading a book on flights. Just give me a minute. I was reading a book as I came for the burial of my beloved chairman, Ayiro. I was reading this book, David Brooks, How to Know a Person. I was reading this on the flight, and I'm trying to emphasize a point. And already in reading this book, on flight, I was reading this book, but I was not reading this book to enjoy the book. I was reading the book. I don't know if you can see. I was reading the book and I was marking things in that book. It's a new book, but it is mine. And one of the things I read was this. There are people in life who are illuminators, and there are people in life who are diminishers. You know, when I walk to your class and say, don't worry, you'll pass this course, I'm the one teaching. I'm a diminisher. I'm not an illuminator. So I read very interesting things. It says, in every crowd, there are diminishers and there are illuminators. Diminishers make people feel small and unseen. They see other people as things to be used, not as persons to be befriended. They stereotype and ignore. Those are diminishers. They are involved with themselves. They are so involved with themselves that other people are just not on their radar screen. Illuminators, on the other hand, have a persistent curiosity about other people. They have been trained or have trained themselves in the craft of understanding others. They know what to look for and how to ask the right questions at the right time. They shine the brightness of their care on people. When you are an illuminator, your light shines brightness on other people and make them feel bigger, deeper, respected, and lifted up. I want you to see this book so that you see what I'm saying. If you look carefully, What have I written there? I've written in that book, Ayiro relationship. Professor Ayiro was an illuminator in my life. People talk about Daystar and how it is doing well, but you see, he was my chairman for 6 years. And we know the fights that exist between chairmen and vice chancellors, or chairman of board of management and headmasters or principals. So when I was reading this book on the plane, I had a pen. So I'm being Edwards, and I was highlighting, and I was not writing other people's thoughts. What this man wrote, I saw in this, there is the Ayiro relationship. That's what we are talking about. So when reading books too, he often had a pen in hand, not to record the thoughts of others, but to note his own ideas and musings. For me, this was amusing. That, my God, this is depicting my life with my late chair. Thus, he was constantly experiencing and analyzing other thinkers, using their perspectives to catalyze and refine his own. Now, you know, by the time I was landing at Jomo Kenyatta, when I went to the funeral, in my speech, I had added that the biggest attribute of Ayiro was that he was not a diminisher, but an illuminator. Where did I get that from? It is from that book I read. His commitment to learning and deep thought is something we can emulate in our own lives by reading from notable thinkers and working to understand their ideas. So we go back to our entry discussion. When we say buy this book, it's not about money. No, for me, my value system is telling me something different. Thank you very much. That was good reading. Elizabeth Mwaluko, is there somebody like that? Elizabeth Mwaluko, are you there?
Yeah,
Yeah, Elizabeth,
I'm
living
here,
where?
Prof. Yes.
Yeah.
What I appreciate most about Edwards is his refusal to divorce mental exercise from his life. His thoughts moved faithfully into both his action and heart. In Edwards' mind, enlightenment constituted a transformation of mind and heart. As he wrote in his sermon, a divine and supernatural light. The spirituality enlightened man does not merely rationally believe that God is glorious, but he has a sense of the gloriousness of God in his heart. In other words, thinkers should not relegate their thoughts just to the head. One's thought and ideas must work themselves out in a person's heart and life.
Yes. Let's pause there. Let's pause there. And I love this. In Edward's mind, enlightenment constituted a transformation of mind and heart. That's why I want you people in my class to have a very strong mind, but soft hearts. And as he wrote in his sermon, a divine and supernatural light does not merely rationally believe that God is glorious, but he has a sense of the gloriousness of God in his heart. What would God want me to do? In other words, thinkers should not relegate their thoughts just to the head. One's thoughts and ideas must work themselves out in a person's heart and life. That is the leader I want to come out of this program. That people will see something special about you. They will respect your intellect, your mastery of knowledge, but they'll also admire your heart and the way you express your relationships with other human beings. Carry on reading. Have we lost you?
Sorry. For Edward, this meant extreme intentionality in everyday living. In Jonathan Edwards' A Life, George M. Marsden notes that Edward would often rise as early as 4 a.m. to begin his 13-hour-long workdays. Throughout his work, he'd pray, read, study, prepare sermons, and counsel his parishioners. He aspired to live constantly in the awareness of God's presence, often incorporating intentional fasting and additional prayers into his life. While we may not be called to mimic Edward's specific practices, we ought to pursue an alignment of our lives with our values, even if it's as simple as being a better family member or friend to someone we know.
Wonderful. Yeah, but for me, I ask myself, why can't I mimic Edward's life? Why? Why can't I, throughout my work, pray, read, study, prepare my work for my classes and my administration of the university, counsel my community? Why? Why not? And that is what leadership is all about. If you do a course of leadership in Daystar and you go out and there is nothing you know about leadership other than saying types of leadership, democratic, autocratic, whatever you want to call them, those are now available on the internet, by the way. It is the formation of you as an individual that we seek in this class. So I want us to finish by learning from Edwards. And Pascal, is it Pascal Otieno? Are you on this call, Pascal?
Yes, I am.
Oh, very good. Please show up and take us to the last part of the reading today.
I think my video is not very clear. Yeah.
But
So,
just go on and read because of time. Yeah.
yes, learning from Edwards. Edward is more than a single fairy sermon can tell us. For whether or not we agree with the specific tenets of his theology, we can all marvel at Edward's commitment to constantly align his mind to his life. He was much more than a preacher who plotted out a neat theological ground on Sundays and ignored it the rest of the week. Rather, he was a committed student, philosopher, theologian, and Christian who admirably drew out his intellect into every aspect of his moral and emotional life. Edward's life is a powerful call for us to examine our own lives. Are we working to refine our thinking and ideas, or are we stagnant in our learning? And perhaps more importantly, do our values shine through in our lives, or are they just concepts we claim to believe?
Wonderful.
Yes, this by Professor Laban Ayiro.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what this depiction, this reading, this narrative on Edwards means to you. To you. But this is a course in leadership. This is a course in leadership. And I have brought in constructs of Edwards. We have done a bit of history and living a transformational life. We have told you who he was. We have derived his intellect capacity, and we see that he had an incredible mind. His commitment to learning and deep thought is something we should emulate ourselves. And then living well. Refusal to divorce mental exercise from your own life. And what can we learn from Edwards? So this is how we are going to imbibe the principles of leadership through case studies. And so this paper will be this extract by myself will be a very important aspect of your leadership course. So this is a paper I would print and put in my file. And then when I'm online, go into these hyperlinks. And you might not read all the tons of papers, but you can pick 1 or 2 papers to internalize, because you desire to link intellect to your heart and your life. I would like some open reactions to this presentation. And
lift your hands. Others, Prof, are typing in because of the numbers. So some are typing in, some are also contributing by raising their hands. Caroline.
Yeah, even typing in is good, but also let's hear some of them. What are your arguments? What are you seeing? Then we shall pray.
There are 4 participants.
Yeah. So I just want to give a short comment regarding what I've gotten from the discussion and from Jonathan Edwards' work. One of my views is that this man of God had a purpose that God had brought in during his early years, from when he was very young, because he was quite extraordinary. And then he was able to discover his purpose early in life. And normally what happens is that sometimes we take too long. We take so many years to understand our purpose. And purpose has got to do with leadership. So Jonathan Edwards was able to understand his purpose early in life, and he ran with it. He got transformed, and he served his purpose. I think that is the reason he lived in the old, and it seems like he's living today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Next. And I really appreciate the comments. First of all, Abdul, I was reading your comments. Yes, and I am very fulfilled, Shaban, with your bring out. And I hope now part of your language register as a leader is to distinguish between being an illuminator and a diminisher. And you can cause discussion around that even in your place of work. Caro, back to you. Who is next?
Lois, Violet, and then John.
Yeah, good evening and hello. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Professor. I was listening to you and even reading through, and it's so inspirational. I'm getting like a call to persistence, patterns of a transformational leadership, transformational life. And one thing that was so clear to me that just hit my heart, and I pray that I will live it, is having a strong mind, but a soft heart. So when I'm dealing with people, when I'm dealing with my juniors, maybe in relationships in my family, wherever I am getting to have a strong mind, but a soft heart. And it's like a pattern that made him succeed. He did not give up. It's like integrity. He had integrity. He was committed to the purpose, and that's what I'm getting. That as I start this journey, as I continue in this journey, that God will help me to have this purpose, to be committed, in my relationships with people, that even though I may have a strong mind, but I will have a soft heart when I'm dealing with people. And that calls for sensitivity when I'm handling people around me. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next.
Violet, and then John, and then Lamek.
Then we'll stop there so that we can move on. Yeah. Mm.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Thank you, Daktari. I'm just looking at how you've introduced today, and it just reminded me of our school motto in high school, which was one heart, one mind. And I'm just looking at strong mind, strong heart. Basically, that is one. There's oneness in that. And this week, some of the middle leaders in school, we just had a training where we are looking at beyond leadership styles. We are looking at from generic models to knowledge-informed practice. So when I come to class today, I'm just seeing how you can have, yes, this style, but how is it impacting your practice towards being an excellent leader? And if you look at Daniel's book, Daniel Coleman, Emotionally Intelligent Leadership, I was just trying to compare it and also what you've written in the Art of Institutional Leadership. And there's so much resemblance when you're looking at this leader who is emotionally intelligent. And today we are looking at Edward, and you're looking at the first thing he did in the morning was pray. So that means he made sure that the heavens were clear. Then he read. Then he studied. Then he prepared his sermon. You can see some sequence that is very excellent. And then even just one of the things I've picked up from learning from Edward, and he drew out his intellect into every aspect of his moral and emotional life. And the key thing that makes an individual, the key thing that makes a person is moral and the emotional life, because that is what people see outside. So if you are not able to put your intellect into your emotional or into your moral life, there'll be some degradation somewhere. So I just hope even as you continue, God will help me that whatever I learn here, I'm going to translate it and become a better leader. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And just to note that Moses Otieno, Purity Kome, Pascal Otieno, Agatha Akinyi, Rachel Asewe, and Anne, Samuel Ndemba, Patrick Maleto, your comments are a great indication of the impact this presentation has had on you, and we take note of that. Back to you, Carol.
Just two. Finally, John, and then Lamek, you'll wind up. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. I think the words, as I continue to interact with anything leadership, the word that comes to me always is introspection. And I think I've just commented that there's no sitting on the fence. As a leader, as an individual, you are either diminishing or you are eliminating for someone. And so the question is, to what extent are you diminishing, and to what extent are you eliminating? I think my thoughts are primarily on the last part of what you have shared, the last paragraph, where it says that we ask if we are working to refine our thinking. And for me, it's a process. It's something that we must be open and ready to work at every day. And I think there's one of the speakers who talked about patterns. They don't just come, automatically. It's something that you keep working at. It is a process, and that's something that we should be ready and open to working. Otherwise, we are going to stagnate. You may have heard of a quote that when we stop growing, we inevitably start rotting. And so we must be open and willing to improve ourselves, to be better ourselves, and to ask ourselves on the elimination scale, where are we and what are we doing about it? Thank you.
Thank you, and then Lamek.
Thank you. Daktari, in a nutshell, I can say that from Edward's projection is someone who was spiritually grounded, because most of his knowledge is being drawn from the works of God, and that's why before he begins anything, he starts with a word of prayer. And also, Edwards is trying to challenge us that are our values shining to those who we are leading as leaders, or in a community, even in a family. So Edward poses a challenge to us that our values must shine, and also we should have an impact in those who surround us. I think that if some of us who have read the book by Professor, I guess that the Edwards might be the teacher of Prof, because Prof talks about spiritual life from the quotes of biblical verses, if you have read the book. So I can see the relationship between the two. I thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution and those who have contributed online. Prof, back to you, as we are taking note for all the contributions, whether type in or speak up.
Let us put our thoughts together. Heavenly Father, we come before you as a congregation of learners. And Lord, I am but just a vessel. I continue to come before you seeking for greater wisdom, determined that this will be a class of formation and not just learning. That among this group of men and women, you will bring out the Edwards of tomorrow who will transform this world, and that 300 years after they have left this earth, people will still refer to them. Father, leadership is sacred. And leadership is anchored in policies that are supposed to be generated through consensus. And Lord, this is the lesson for these students in this class. It has been a big lesson for me for the last 20 years in leadership. And I've seen the difference when leadership is anchored in scripture, and when you know that God is sovereign, and when you appreciate not just the holiness, but the loveliness and the beauty that sums up who God is to us. And so as we toil through this class, let us not look for grades, but let us look for genuine transformation and formation. And that at the end of this course, we shall not be reluctant to grade everybody with an A, because we know they will have been transformed and formed by this course. I seek for greater diligence. I have prayed to you because I'm looking for something different from Daystar as my legacy. That I will have a congregation of leaders out there who will put God, who will appreciate the centrality of God in their leadership. And Lord, I know that when that is done, homes will flourish, institutions will flourish, our country, Kenya, will flourish, and the world will be a better place. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Right.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Okay. Thank you very much. And now we would like to, and I have a lot of readings. Those of you who are interested through my technical assistant, and Magdalene or even Mwaka, just make queries of what you like to have, and we will definitely get it to you. I would like to see some of you come out exceptionally in this course. You know, we are starting the administration and the policy studies PhD, and I would like many of you to move there because that's how you transform this country. But it starts in this class, the class of transformation. Pardon me, I'll want to go back. I know I had covered part of this earlier, but I want to go back so that we ground ourselves in what we are doing today. And I want to go back to anchor what we have just gone through. And this appendix will be printed and shared out. So we'll do this one. We'll not even do the PowerPoint. We'll do this appendix. I'll go through this, then we'll look at a few notes, and then we'll go to our class text, and then run back to the next assignment, and that is Drucker's work. So there's quite a lot to go through. So this appendix accompanies the PowerPoint for the Masters in Leadership and Policy Studies. Again, we'll be sending this to you. And this treatment is scholarly, reflective, and policy relevant. I want you to begin to note that it seems like leadership is symbiotic to policy formulation, policy implementation, and policy analysis. That actually that's what leadership is all about. And you as the leader is to faithfully ensure that the policies developed are implemented in the holiness of God. And then you'll create a beautiful country. You'll create a beautiful home. You'll create a beautiful church. But more importantly, you'll just be a beautiful person as the leader. So I would like us to, time and again, encourage ourselves to know, what does God want out of us in leadership? And this is something that you will have to constantly refer to. So the fundamentals of scripture in leadership. Leadership theory, which we shall not delve into much because you can always make reference. I'll do quite a bit on emotional intelligence because I know the difference it makes. And Daystar today is courageous enough to go into the domain of the virtue proposition of leadership. I have been courageous enough to say we are moving away. We are going to stretch beyond values. Because if you see anything around Daystar, the emblem, the insignia, there is transformation, excellence, and servanthood. That is an intention. And it makes us look good. But then the deeper question we have to ask ourselves, how much of that do we exhibit, excellence, transformation, and servanthood, in whatever we do, starting with me as your Vice Chancellor and also as your lecturer? Do I exhibit excellence? Am I causing transformation? Am I picking the broom in proclaiming servanthood or servant leadership? So we are moving from the virtue, the values that have been around us even when we were going down the drain, when enrollments were going away, when riots were a feature in a Christ-centered university, when our finances were in deficits for 10 years running. We still had those inscriptions of transformation, excellence, and servanthood. So when I talk about the virtue proposition, I am now not talking about things we just talk about, but things that then become our golden standard, that we shall live through this virtue proposition, that we are going to develop relationships that are actually anchored in the realm of spirituality. And that Galatians 5:22-23, there we will demonstrate the fruit of the Spirit as a congregation. Then God will be with us. The exemplars I'm using from the Bible: Moses, David, Nehemiah, and Paul. And then I'm beginning to ask myself, what is my contribution myself? What is my contribution? And I want to challenge some of you. By the way, I have undergraduate students in Daystar who are already writing books. So I want to challenge myself and say, what is my contribution? And that's why we have the institutional leadership insights that are aligned with unleashing the potential of emotional intelligence, but also scripturally anchored. Now, I want us to look at Moses as an exemplar. Moses was leadership through humility and dependence. So Moses emerges as Israel's leader during a period of extreme institutional fragility. There was slavery, there was displacement, and there was the identity crisis. He is tasked with nation building under divine authority rather than self-appointment. And we must search around these leaders. Humility, you can go to Numbers 12:3. Obedience to moral authority, patience and endurance, and moral courage.
Prof, is there anything you wanted to, if you wanted to project?
Just a minute. Is this Word document projected?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I thought it is. That's what I'm using here.
Okay.
Are we okay as a class? Are you
Yeah, we
seeing?
are fine.
Yes, yes, we
Sure,
are
We
sure.
can see it.
Yeah.
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. So when I say core leadership values, and my exemplifier is Moses, I'm talking about leadership through humility and dependence. And so as a leader, note the following: the virtues, humility, obedience to moral authority. Sometimes moral authority is not even written. Thou shalt not abuse your mother. Sometimes it is not in your vernacular, but it's a moral authority. Patience and endurance. So you must also learn, as you get into this leadership, patience and endurance is very important. And then moral courage. The emotional intelligence dimensions that we shall be looking at later on is self-awareness. And Moses demonstrates this very well. His limitations. Exodus 4:10. Self-regulation. Repeatedly intercedes rather than retaliates. Social awareness. You must understand the collective fear and resistance. You must. And he had a lot of it. You know what? Those of us who have read Exodus. And that's what leadership is all about. Are we afraid to say it? I've never been afraid to say it in Daystar. Ethnic card. I've never been afraid to say it. That in Daystar over the years, right now we have tried to say it will not happen, but over the years there's been a lot of ethnic nibblers. Unajua hii, unaenda kulala, unaweka blanketi, and then the rat comes in the night at the heel. Ukiamuka asubuhi unakuta ala. What happened? It has nibbled at your heel. You know, ethnic nibblers and sometimes pretenders. We have talked of moral courage to be able to say, we shall not play the ethnic card in Daystar. It will not happen. At least not under my watch and for the time God allows me. If the forces will become too strong, then I'll walk away. So you must have a social awareness and understand the collective fear and resistance. Then there is relationship management. I don't know whether Moses did very well mediating between God and the people. I think he had a very rough time, and we know it. These are the beginnings, these are the foundations of leadership. Moses demonstrates that legitimacy flows from character and calling, not charisma. I fear for our country when I watch the news. Leadership is not about noise. Huh? Leadership is about discernment. So Moses demonstrates that legitimacy flows from character and calling, not charisma. I don't think Joshua was charismatic. His leadership reflects what Ayiro 2020 describes as emotionally grounded authority. From the book, your class text, authority sustained through moral credibility and relational trust. You know, I shudder myself, and people tell me, you are old school, you are killing yourself. But I shudder myself how I can be a professor of research methods and statistics and not be able to go to class. Where's the moral credibility? And where's the relational trust, even between me and my students? Even as I give them that degree, do they have an idea of my ability? So, and I want you to go to your own level and ask yourself, do you have emotionally grounded authority? Authority sustained through moral credibility and relational trust. When you have that, you win public trust. So from an institutional perspective, Moses exemplifies crisis leadership, ethical stewardship, governance under moral law. And when I talk about Moses exemplifies, I want you to think about yourself. So when we come to policy and institutional leadership insight, modern leaders often fail by confusing decisiveness with dominance. Moses shows that humility enhances, not weakens authority, particularly in complex systems. I'm hoping that in this class, I don't know how many are on this call today, 122. I'm hoping that in this class, your vice chancellor is not a stranger. Has that, sometimes people want to be strangers so that they're mysterious about their authority. But learn that humility enhances authority all the time. And please don't confuse decisiveness with dominance. Watu wasianze kusema tumechoka. Huyu principal wetu kila wakati on parade. They can almost predict what you're going to say. You don't prepare like Edwards. So you are predictable. You people are not paying fees. There's a lot of fees arrears. The school cannot run. By the way, you don't have to talk about fees payments, you as the principal. Just improve your system such that parents and students don't want to be away, they want to be in school. And the scriptures for you to look at is Numbers chapter 12:3 and Exodus 18 for delegation and distributed leadership. So that is Moses. And why am I taking you into this? I'm trying to tell you that leadership is anchored in scripture. And I know that when it comes to the Old Testament, we are all there. Let us look at David. Courage, failure, and moral restoration. And we know that David's leadership spans military victory, political consolidation, but profound moral failure. And this is not a Bible class, so we'll not go into that. You read around there. He governs during institutional transition from tribal confederation to monarchy. But the core leadership values we get from David: courage, 1 Samuel 17, vision and charisma. But this is very interesting for David. I was looking at this in the scriptures. Accountability through repentance. You know how many times? Until he's best described as a man who was after God's heart. And David did demonstrate moral honesty. Those are core leadership virtues. How about emotional intelligence dimensions? Emotional expressiveness. By the way, the whole book of Psalms reflects deep emotional awareness when you read the psalmist. You know, if you go to Psalm 31, 14 to 15, he even says, I'm talking about emotional expressiveness, goes before God and says, you are my God and my times are in your hands. Deep emotional awareness. Self-reflection, we saw it in David. And these are aspects you must carry as a leader. Public acknowledgement of failure. I have said this is a very strong aspect of leadership. And by the way, learn to practice it. I remember myself going to chapel and asking the university to forgive me because there was a member of staff, I had been given wrong information and I had shunted her away for a long time until God gave me an opportunity. And I went to parade and said, I don't want to repeat her name, so and so, please forgive me. And she ran from the pews and came to the front crying to hug me. Even today, my research officer protocol, Magdalene, was shunted away. Everybody said so many things about Magdalene. Oh, she's not a worker. Oh, she does what. Until God presented a situation when she was taking minutes for the Senate. And I read the minutes and I was pleasantly surprised. And I said, who wrote this? They said, Magdalene. She moved to my office. All her delayed promotions, what were given. You must also, and I have said it, you must also acknowledge failure after self-reflection. It is not a weakness. Empathy, relational leadership with followers. And we are teaching you this, and this book has a lot of those. Leadership is not always with good times. Why have I cut short my fundraising circuit in the US by 1 week? Because I could not imagine Professor Ayiro being buried and I was not there, just to pay my last respects. Moral repair. And this we are asked to do every day as Christians. Restoration through repentance. You must repent. We have also fell short of his glory. Please don't pontificate that you are holier than thou. No. So what is the leadership analysis around David? David's leadership illustrates a critical leadership truth. Failure does not automatically disqualify leadership. And repentance does. The virtue proposition. So virtue is not perfection, but moral responsiveness. So when you say at Daystar we are transformational, we exhibit excellence, we are servant leaders, how are you responding to that? If there's no moral responsiveness, then we are living a lie. And sometimes how is that demonstrated? Then we harvest very little because God will be resisting us. Ayiro 2020 emphasizes that emotionally intelligent leaders accept responsibility, repair trust, learn institutionally from failure. So what is the leadership insight? Institutions collapse when leaders conceal wrongdoing. I don't think I have to give you examples. David models transparency, repentance, and corrective action, essential for institutional resilience. I am asking this of you, and you can get the scriptures from the books listed. What do we learn from Nehemiah? Nehemiah, visionary, strategic, and ethical institutional leadership. So Nehemiah, the context, leads post-exilic Jerusalem amid economic exploitation, political opposition, and demoralization. His task is institutional reconstruction, not merely physical rebuilding. Many of you, when you pass Kabarak High School, the principals who are in this course, you admire and you keep saying, I wish I was given such a school. And when you pass Vielo Secondary School, you say, this is a school I can't go. Let me tell you, in this book, my grandfather told me, when somebody gives you a cow to look after, let them not give you a healthy cow. Let them give you a cow that emaciated, that when you begin to take care of it, they can notice. By the way, there's more worth in institutional reconstruction. Core values, integrity around Nehemiah, strategic wisdom, justice and fairness, then courageous reform. I think every time I think of Nehemiah, I think of courageous reform. What are the emotional intelligence dimensions? Situation awareness, reads political and social dynamics accurately. Self-regulation, response to opposition without emotional volatility. Don't become violent. Social intelligence, mobilize diverse stakeholders. He had tons and tons of social intelligence. How he brought all those people to build the wall again. And maybe my walk away from Nehemiah in my leadership, and I hope even at Daystar, as I do my last term, I refuse personal enrichment. Yeah, let me just get my worth. Moral clarity. Personal enrichment. When you think about it, all these things don't mean anything. But you can live modestly well. You can get what is due to you. Like now I teach classes. When I ask the course coordinator, have you put in my claims for teaching, for supervision? If I'm paid money, yes, then that's my worth. On top of my salary, that's okay. So Nehemiah leadership analysis, Nehemiah exemplifies policy-relevant leadership excellence. Yeah, if you're looking at somebody who really depicts policy-relevant leadership excellence, because what is policy? Vision articulation. He wanted the wall rebuilt. Strategic planning, mobilized people, materials. Risk management, those who are saying it will come down. And then ethical governance, sustenance of that effort. See, that is policy. That is policy formulation, policy implementation, and policy analysis and sustainability. So this Nehemiah operationalizes what Ayiro 2020 describes as institutional leadership with moral intentionality, where systems, structures, and culture align with values. By the way, when you do this, there will be those against, there are those who will fight, but God will insulate you because he did the same to Nehemiah. So when it comes to policy and institutional insight, Nehemiah demonstrates how ethical leadership can restore public trust, counter corruption, and sustain reform momentum. In Kenya, we believe maybe we should form more political parties and all kinds of things. Now, as a leader, now going through this course, you can take your country as a case study. Yeah, and see. By the way, I keep telling people, future leaders in Kenya would have a very easy time to restore public trust, counter corruption, sustain reform momentum very easily, because people have lived through those struggles. And you can look at the two scriptures from Nehemiah. Finally, I want to finish with Paul, the apostle. Paul, transformational and relational leadership, right from himself, from Saul to Paul. So Paul, the context, operates in pluralistic, hostile, and rapidly changing environments. Could you be in the same? And by the way, I'm hoping by the end of this course, you will identify yourself. Which is your situation? Are you in the Paul? Are you in the Nehemiah? Are you in the David? Or are you in the Moses space? Very important. And what would you do? So, Paul, we operates in very hostile, pluralistic, and rapidly changing environments. His leadership spans multiple cultures, institutions, and belief systems. We know it. When I was in Rome visiting on the Pope, I remember being taken to the relics of the prison where Paul had been. The core leadership virtues: love, agape, perseverance, intellectual humility, and moral conviction. Can you try and put this in your leadership scope? The emotional intelligence, Paul, empathy, contextualizes message to the audience, can feel the audience. Self-regulation, endures persecution without bitterness. Are you able to do this, by the way? This is not easy. Those of you who have worked in leadership space, endures persecution without bitterness. Relationship management, mentorship, and delegation, very important, and social awareness, cultural adaptability. So when we analyze the leadership of Paul, Paul exemplifies transformational leadership rooted in love, not authority. And I struggle with this. I've now realized you can write as many warning letters and threats and what. It will not work. No. Love evens everything out. So where is the moral authority? People begin to look at you and ask, but why are they demanding this of us? What are they doing themselves? So Paul exemplifies transformation leadership rooted in love, not authority. His leadership resonates strongly with Ayiro's emphasis on emotional intelligence as a catalyst for influence and institutional change. It is such a powerful weapon, and that's why we're going to spend, I'm happy one of you mentioned Goldman. We're going to spend a lot of time around emotional intelligence because it is a big weapon. I'll never go to assembly to tell my data community I'm a professor of research methods and statistics. I will not. That I leave it to their conscience. But you will demonstrate that so that it's a catalyst for influence and institutional change. So you must have the emotional intelligence. You have the instruments of the office of the vice chancellor or the principal or the medical officer or the military in charge or the medical officer of health. You have the instruments of that office, but let me tell you, those instruments of those office will not make you flourish. You must have a catalyst for influence. So apart from thanking God for giving me this knowledge and the life and the health, I want to pass this knowledge to you so that we can have more heroes going out there. But it is a catalyst for influence. You will go out and say, in Daystar, our vice chancellor does this. That is great influence. And that causes change. So Paul's leadership highlights persuasion over cohesion, influence through moral example, and distributed leadership via mentoring. Mentoring. Distributed leadership over mentoring. Timothy and Titus. So what is the policy and institutional leadership insight? Remember, this is a course on leadership and policy. Paul's model challenges authoritarian leadership in public institutions, advocating influence. And by the way, I love this, advocating influence through credibility. So how do you become credible? Apart from the letter you have giving you that office. Through service. Are you serving your people? Because that's how you'll influence. And through moral clarity. So go on parade and tell people there shall be no ethnic card in my school, in my hospital, in my department, in my institution. You are very clear. So that influence through credibility, you deserve to be where you are, the service you give, and your moral clarity. And those are the scripture references I'll want you to go through when you get this back. So why have I brought in scripture leadership and the virtue proposition? And by the way, we'll come back to the virtue proposition as a presentation on its own. So across Moses, David, Nehemiah, and Paul, we observe virtue, leadership legitimacy flows from character. Emotional intelligence sustains authority. Failure, moral response determines continuity. So you must be vulnerable. Power, stewardship replaces dominance. And ethics sustain systems. This is what I would like us to get from this. In this book, your class text affirms that institutions rise or fall, not merely by strategy, but by the moral and emotional quality of their leadership. And I want you to reflect on this This is not an assignment. I want you to reflect on this. Which biblical leader most closely reflects your leadership context and why? How does emotional intelligence enable virtue-based leadership in complex institutions? And what lessons should modern policy leaders draw from scriptural leadership failures? So I'll want you to reflect on these questions, cause discussion among yourselves, but more importantly, as personal reflection on this as we consolidate, as we lay the foundation of the type of leadership we're looking for. Over to the coordinator. I would like to, first of all, call for an interlude of about 10 minutes. It is 1920, so 1931. We come back, but meanwhile, can people react to this presentation? Set up questions, ask questions, not necessarily questions. You can just make observations and whether this is opening up your thinking on leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Anyone who wants to react before we take up water, coffee, something break? Yeah, anyone? Let me go to the, yes. Any reaction?
This is a master's class, so we need to engage in discussions. Huh? Very important.
Moses, Lois.
Yes, Dr. I think Lois came before me.
Okay,
You just go ahead, and then Lois will talk. Okay, Moses. Okay, Lois, go ahead, pick it up. You are ready.
Thank you, Dr. I'm in. I was having trouble with my microphone.
Okay.
Just making an observation that there is a virtue that is very, very central to leadership, and it is this emotional intelligence. I think when we look at others, there are things that are very common, but what would this emotional intelligence really entail in a modern leadership scenario like a school?
Okay, that's a question to Prof.
Did you get the question? I didn't get it. Did you get it?
What can a modern leader pick up in terms of leadership, like in a school? What do you mean by a modern leader?
Like now, you see, I look at the scriptural context that cited. They are historical. Their challenges resembles our challenges in some ways, but might not be very identical with them. So I'm asking, what dimensions of emotional intelligence, or what should, I don't know how to put the question well, but what will show that a leader is intelligent emotionally, especially in a school setup?
Oh, so what are the characteristics of a secondary school leader in terms of EQ, or in terms of what they portray?
Yeah, but I just want to ask the student to hold on a little, because we are going to do the constructs of emotional intelligence, and there's nothing like in the old. Read anything in the Bible today, it is valid today as it was then. Let me give you one of the biggest things people are never able to carry forward is self-awareness. So when you are made, and sorry, I keep using my examples, when you are made the principal of Sunshine, it is a presidential school. And when I landed in Sunshine on Langata Road, there was no principal's house. And let alone learned Moi's humble beginnings. He didn't believe in these vast things. Go to Kabarak, look at the president's house. It's smaller than my house in Soy. But when I landed at Sunshine, there was no house. But I was the principal of the president's school. He could have hired a house in Lavington. But I decided I was going to stay on that compound because I had 75 students for months who had come to board. I decided, just self-awareness, I decided I'm going to stay on that compound. So they built a structure, a wooden structure with a cement floor where I came with my family to stay. I had come from a principal's house in Lubino, by the way. I came to stay in that structure, and people were wondering, how can you stay in this place? The floor is cold. That place gets waterlogged, black cotton soil. But I stayed there. And that's what gave the foundation, the trust. The parents knew that the principal was on the compound. That is called self-awareness. It is the same as in those biblical times as today. But we shall get into the details. That's a good question. Yeah. Lois, are you ready? Osumba? Then
Yes,
Jacqueline.
I'm ready. Thank you so much, Professor. I am going home with 3 takeaways tonight. I want you to know that Lois is going home with this. First of all, something that has challenged me, public acknowledgement of failure. I remember yesterday I was okay. During the week, I accused my husband of something that he didn't do. I just assumed. Then he brought it up yesterday and I was like, I wanted to say sorry, but I was like, the pride in me, But this one has just melted me. Public acknowledgement of failure. That you're able to acknowledge your failures and say, I'm sorry. So I'm going home with that. And then also, being able to endure persecutions without bitterness. This one I'm embracing, and I'm just going to work on it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Don't ever carry that. And colleagues on this call, I want you to be, I don't know how to say that, Don't do that. Don't judge people. Don't carry biases. Don't. That was who? Was that Jacqueline?
That was Lois. So, but
Jacqueline,
we have
Jacqueline, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Professor. Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm also having some takeaways this evening. The first one is that I think it takes a strong heart of a leader to realize that I'm in the wrong. I'm the one who is supposed to go down, and I'm the one who is supposed to say sorry. And to have that confidence to go in front of their juniors and apologize, to me, I think it's not weakness. But I'm just wondering how many of our leaders we have in this current era who will do such a thing. Because to me, majority of the leaders that we interact with, they are of a different mindset. So this class is helping, and my hope is that the few of us who are in this class, I'm calling us few because out of all the leaders that we have in our nation, we are lucky. We are the few who are lucky to have this opportunity. And so I'm grateful because of that. My second point is about this issue of vulnerability, because there's also another assignment that we had been given by Dr. Munyao, and that word has appeared there severally about a vulnerable leader. And my request is that as we continue to learn, this one shall be expounded so that I will understand fully what it means to be a vulnerable leader, because I'm seeing that's a virtue. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, and we are coming to that. Again, we are going to look at the dysfunctions of a team. And what destroys a team is trust. And Lois, you learn in life, you learn in organizations. When people are vulnerable in an organization, are able to exhibit their vulnerability, trust increases. People learn to trust you more because you are vulnerable. So vulnerability is the engine for trust. And we'll get into that later when we look at the pyramid of trust. Yes. Munachi, were you next? And then Vincent Obonyo.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so from whatever we've heard, I am mostly thinking about the diminishers and the illuminators, and it's taking me back to the discourses text in chapter 1. The headline is How We Communicate Matters, and there's a line that says that leaders rise and fall based on the language they choose to communicate. And when you go deeper into the text, it says that we are not just communicating and we're not just choosing whatever words, we have to choose the right word. And time and again, I'm learning that whatever we communicate really, really, really matters, because sometimes even if you are talking to someone and in your head you think you're giving the right thing or you're right, however way the counterpart chooses to interpret whatever you're saying will determine how you move forward henceforth. I even remember in the text, there's something that says that when you are seated with somebody in a meeting, those people are going to remember at least three or so words. And sometimes whatever you choose to communicate really, really, really matters. And these case studies that we are using, from the likes of Jonathan Edwards to Moses to David and so on, I think we can pick bits and pieces of whatever we are learning. And some aspects are a little bit more difficult than others if you think about them in the human context, because as humans, we are not 100% good. Because if you're looking at humility to enhance authority, in most cases, somebody wants to do the opposite of that. Or emotional expressiveness, that one comes out as a weakness sometimes. So people want to be strong, and sometimes you are losing it in the concept of being a leader. Yes.
Yeah, very, very intuitive thinking, and reference to the book. And that's what I want from this class. By the way, at this level, there are no right or wrong answers. You just have to fortify your argument. Vincent.
Thank you, sir. Mine is just a reflection on the part you've taken us through as you've walked us through using the exemplars, Moses, David, Nehemiah, and Paul. And I'm just appreciating the scholarly approach to the scriptures, where these are texts we have grown up with. Some of us have grown up with from a young age, but the treatment has never been scholarly. And so having a scholarly treatment of these texts and applying this to the leadership context, policy context, it makes me rethink about the scriptures. I'm almost looking at these are seminal texts. Then these are critical publications about understanding life, and in this case, understanding leadership. So I just wanted to appreciate that the process is also helping us, because it's like a retraining or a recalibration of our lenses on how we look at the scriptures, not as religious text, but as manuals and templates that guide our development even as leaders. So I just want to appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I truly pray that we want to enjoy this class. We want to detail this class in terms of intellectual disposition, and I promise to do that on my part, but it is you is consuming it. So That's very encouraging. Wilson and then Lamek. Then we'll take a short break. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof, for giving me this opportunity. I have two issues to talk about. One is coming in form of a question. This the virtue trait that's saying that as a leader, we should accept accusations without bitterness. Now the question is, what does it take a leader now to accept more so the false accusation without bitterness? And as a leader, how am I supposed to approach such accusation, the accusation which are false? Then the other issue, there's this virtual character from Paul, the agape love. Prof, I'm being convinced that if, as a leader, if we can have that such kind of the agape love in us, then it will be easier for us or for a leader to implement most of the policies, because with the love, it means you are going to accommodate all the people under you. And if you accommodate them, it means you will have to take care of their well-being and their welfare. And then with that, we are going to experience very minimal or no distance from. Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I remember if
yes.
there's no resistance, then working with them will be easier, and implementing the organizational policies will also be easier for the attainment of the objectives of the organization.
Yeah, and thank you very much for that thinking, because that's the burden of leadership. You should read this book, Leading Like Christ. Leadership is a burden. And you can't pretend through it, by the way. I tell people when I go to sleep, like when I go to sleep myself, I've told God in my heart of hearts, I should never go to sleep when I'm feeling bad about a member of my community at Daystar. Either I'll call them, send them a message, tell them, you are really torturing my conscience, or what you're doing is not right, and I forgive you. But sometimes they calm themselves. We have had differences with colleagues, and I've called them for guidance and counseling in my office, and we don't talk for 2-3 months. And afterwards, they come and say, I just want to thank you. Because there's no bitterness in it. I actually wanted to see that change. So it's a big challenge to walk through. But also as a leader, you begin to measure. You should be very worried if in your little space, you have so many resistance points. There's something about your leadership that you have to evaluate. So when I talk about differences in Daystar, let me give you an example. How many faculty or staff have I called for guidance and counseling for the 7 years? I think 4. And that tells you. Yeah. But I don't go home with, I don't walk around, I don't fly to US with bitterness about somebody. I don't. Lamek, we'll close with you. Yes.
Thank you, Prof, for the chance. I'm just trying to question myself the amount of patience in Moses. How patient he was with the Israelites, despite the accusations, blames while in the wilderness for that amount of years. And also, I can say that as a leader, you should be ready to be alone. Because when you read about the story of Jeremiah, Jeremiah was rejected even by his own family. Also under Jeremiah, as a leader, you should make some you should have a stand and make some difficult decisions. Remember Jeremiah making decisions not to marry in order to serve God. Jeremiah makes decisions that he will not attend any ceremonies just to have that time for service. So I guess that to make a good leader, you should also decide, and also you should have you should stand on your words. And also as a leader, you should be kind. Despite the blames that Moses got from the children of Israel, he remained kind. And also you have been talking of Prof. Ayiro.
Yes.
That man was kind because he's a man who could drove in the morning the grandchildren to school and pick them at the evening.
Yes.
So I think that we do learn a lot from the Bible, and there are some men who have actually proven that indeed we should be servant leaders. I can imagine about Prof. Ayiro the late, Prof. Ayiro the late, just driving grandchildren and picking them, and how kind he was to those grandchildren, and how patient he was. Sometimes he could reach to pick them and got that they are engaged somehow. He has to wait for like 10, 20 minutes. That shows that as a leader, you should be patient, and also you should be someone who is willing to serve the people. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, very enriching. I would like to suggest we take about 10 minutes break. Please line up your comments. If you didn't have time to speak, line up. That's part of the class participation. When we come back, we'll briefly go to our class text, and then I'll wrap up today's class. But for me, it's not really covering materials, but making sure that we are going through a formation process. Over to you, Dr. Mwaka or Meshach or Maitie. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Prof. I think you can have your break as they also take up some water. We just have less than an hour to be able to finish up the class, and then we'll be able to wind up. So, guys, you can get some water. If you have any problem, we can do it there. Don't leave. Just take something and then be back here. At 10, at 8, is it 7:55, I think. Yeah. And then we can be able to move on. Thank you so much, Dr. Nazarene, Meshach, and Magdalene. Magdalene is 2-in-1 for keeping us and being part of this so that we can support our students. So
I am here to tell you.
Wasingiza haijakuja, people are supposed to be sleeping. So right, yeah, but you have the energy to pull through the class. Frederick Ochola, I know what you're talking about. By the way, congratulations. I know some of you people like Bonke have actually submitted abstracts to go and present in international conference in Canada. I don't know. Others have sent me. They are going to present. I don't know where. They like that. Those are scholars. Yeah, so we're so excited about what you're doing out there. People applying for scholarships, for whatever. So it's really encouraging to see how people have immersed themselves into scholarship and they want to become. And that's exactly what we are really praying for all of you, that, that is how to become. And can't wait to see you join in for the PhD program. And in the next few days, the next 3 years from now, or probably 4 at most, maybe all of us will be full lecturers in the universities for those who are going to go to academia. All of us probably here for those who I always encourage people, the reason you want to do your PhD, people ask me, this is a very common question, like in Cohort 1 and Cohort 2. You guys, do you have a PhD in education? I said, well, it's okay, but you are a teacher in high school. What is your plan? Is your plan to be still continue teaching in high school, or you want to upgrade your status to go to university? If that is the case, then university is so wide. It is so wide. It is not just PhD in education that you need. We need PhD in policy and administration. We need PhD in leadership and policy. We need PhDs in all those places. So, with your education, leadership, and policy, you can do education if you want fully 100%, but you can also go to the upcoming policy and administration, leadership, policy, and administration PhD that we are coming up with. And then you will be diverse. You can teach in board education, and you can also teach in other areas like public administration. You can teach in policy, you can teach in leadership. But all of us can do a PhD in education. We can do, all of us. We would want you to diversify, but also you can do public policy, and your research area is in education, as in you can do, say, for example, leadership and public policy, and then you do your research in the area of education so that you can look at education leadership or educational policy or something else. Remember, you have a master of education, leadership, and policy. Those are already kind of two strong areas. First of all, the policy area is strong for you, the leadership is strong for you. And then, of course, now the education is strong for you. You have free to diversify in that area. And some of you say, oh, I just want to handle now education alone. I want to handle that. So my point is here is if your aspiration is to go and teach in a high academic institution, because the value of a PhD is actually in higher education mostly, unless you're at a leadership position, but mostly to impact is usually in higher education. Those students transiting from high school or colleges coming to universities. So I personally think you should think beyond that. Otherwise, you can always be sure that we will definitely be here. The PhD program probably by the end of this year will be here. By the time you're graduating, you will be part of our team, maybe part of Cohort 1 or Cohort 2, depending on when you join in. Any other general question? Yes, Frederick, the energy. Any other general question? As you take your coffee and tea, I've just taken my turmeric and ginger and honey, feeling nice. Yes, Mark wants to be a professor in future. Believe you me, after this master's, you are on the right path. Postgraduate education is what gives you a position in an academia. Unless you're going to do an administrative job in academia and become a school administrator, or you want to become something like working in the HR office at a certain position or finance, surely, and those are very limited. They're not very many. There are not very many positions, but many positions are in teaching, impacting, and research. Research in academia, in teaching in higher education, research in higher education, as well as formulating of policies here, and of course, but administrative is very, very little, very little. So that's why the number of lecturers are more than administrators, like 2/3 vis-a-vis a third. So, but I'm not discouraging, but I wouldn't do a PhD to teach at high school because already the fact that I have an undergraduate is already what is required for me to teach there. What is required for me to teach there? So what is required for me to teach there is that one, which I already have. But for you, you can't teach in university or a college or a technical college or a higher learning institution. Higher learning just means anything beyond high school, secondary school, high school, whatever levels you call them. So whatever you're doing, do it because if you're going to do. And I would expect this master's, unless it's going to give you a leadership or administrative job in high school, for example, a principal or a director or a CEO, but this is supposed to be meant for moving towards beyond what you don't need this to teach high school, but you need this to, unless it's also Panasonic. Of course, also other than high school, there are very many areas of diversity. There are many organizations looking for policymakers in terms of education, World Bank, Africa Development Bank, whatever, call them NGOs, charities, and others who are looking for people with knowledge in policy implementation, policy formulation, policy development, leadership in those various areas so that they can be able to pick you up, sort of support. So the field is too wide for you, the places for you to work are so vast. Most of us, when you're looking for some, we don't have the guts to risk and move towards a different area. You're so confident thinking this is my final place and I'm not moving. You have so many opportunities to be able to influence. Can do also consultancies. You can go to South Sudan, you can go to Nigeria, you can go to, you can be in Kenya, you can go to wherever, and also be a consultant in that matters of policy, education, probably development, formulation, development, and probably implementation, or matters leadership, whatever you want. So we're just trying to demystify, you want to narrow you from the normal class routine of teaching Kiswahili in mathematics, or Kiswahili in history, or mathematics and physics, and making you know that you have such a wide range of opportunities out here to be able to do. I'm a high school teacher. I taught in high school, Muslim girls, mumias. I taught Muslim girls, mumias. That's where I taught. But where am I right now? I did my education there. I mean, I did education, my first degree. That was enough for the school. The moment I did my master's, I risked out and said, well, I think I am beyond I wasn't beyond the classroom, but my education can be part of making another move somewhere else. So that is how I ended up where I am right now. And we are so many. I think the VC himself was a teacher. You get that, to hear that. I am sure so many people here who are teaching. I don't know about Nazarene, but I'm sure she looks like she was a teacher. I don't know what she was. Dr. Nazarene, what were you? I don't know what you are, but
Doc, I'm very impressed that you think I was a teacher. I'm actually a pure scientist.
Yes, you see?
I came from pure sciences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And now she did a PhD in clinical psychology. Now pure scientist to clinical, and now she's the one heading she's heading the laboratory, the clinical laboratory where they do clinical trials, assessments, psychometrics at USIU. So basically my point is that when you get higher education, you are now meant for another level. You are now meant for another level. You are now meant for another level, which you need to focus on and realize, where am I supposed to be, right? I don't know what Nazarene, as they take their tea, sometimes it's good to tell them something. And Misha can also tell them. I think Misha was a teacher. Misha, who are you?
Hello, Daktari.
Yes.
Kiswahili geography teacher. But then transition
And now
into-
is a university, Daystar University instructional designer, right? Did you teach?
Yes, I taught.
And
And
then
then
you
moved into publishing, then e-learning, what I do currently.
Exactly. We moved Mishak from, it was in a publishing house as part of the publishing team of a publishing house. After teaching not so many, is pretty young. So most have taught very few years. So after teaching some years, I don't know how many teachers he taught us Kiswahili and geography. Is that so?
Yes. Kiswahili geography is my combination.
But this guy doesn't speak Swahili of anything. I've never even heard him speak Swahili.
And Dr. By the way, Mishak is also very is a go-to in CBC or CBE stories.
Exactly. CBE. But me, I've never had him speak Swahili, by the way. I mean, I've worked with Mishak in Odell, e-learning. as the founding director I'm the founding director for the Daystar e-learning campus. By the way, that is one of the biggest achievements I've ever made. The reason you are on this online, please, sometimes just give me something, a sweet to eat, because, we made it possible for you, Mishak and I and others. So those are just side jokes. So we are trying to make you know what else you can do beyond teaching, probably for those who are teaching in high school, for those who are lawyers, for those who are whatever you are. We're just moving you from that. I don't know. Magda was something. Magda, what were you? Was it corporate affairs? No. Magda is a Daystar.
Yes, actually, I was in corporate affairs before I was moved to alumni.
Exactly. Then now she was now alumni officer, and now she's in the VC's research as a research officer in the vice chancellor's office, and sometimes doubles up as the protocol in charge. As I say, it's very easy. If you want to get the VC, don't struggle with anybody else in data. She's the only one who can really put you wherever you want to be quickly and fix you quickly, without having to struggle. Because the VC reads so many texts, so many emails, and may not even see yours. Right. Dr. Kiwenga, you have anything to tell these folks?
Thank you very much, Doc, for the opportunity. I think probably just to state that only you can limit yourself. There's just so much out there that this master's program offers you, and it's for you to be open to whatever opportunities are coming your way. Like Dr. Mwaka is saying, you can be in policy, you can be in education, and you're not limited to being a teacher. You can be an administrator if that suits you, but also where is your passion? Because it's not just becoming, but also following your passion. Like I stated earlier, I started off as a pure scientist. I came from food science, and transitioning to social sciences for me was really a challenge, but I found my passion in the space of research and psychometrics, and that, what it's saying to you is that you can be that which you choose to be. So let this master's program form you, like the Vice Chancellor was saying earlier in the first 2 hours, that it's not just about content delivery, it's not just completing the syllabus or clearing your assignments, but how different does this program make you? And by how different are you formed? And when you're formed, what do you transition into being? I mean, we look forward to years or, in the future when you have graduated and you're the people we are seeing on TV, even if it's in the, in politics or whatever, but you're making a difference as a leader in this nation. Because if at some point the Vice Chancellor said it's not about charisma, and if in this nation we had an understanding of leadership as the Vice Chancellor speaks about it, I'm sure that we would really, really transform this nation. But so in the, in simple terms,
Yeah.
yes.
Let's get back here. Thank you for engaging. I would like us to do two things in the next 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes. I want to have some reflections from your class text. What are you getting from the constructs of leadership? And then I will take the remaining 15 minutes just to wrap up the foundations of leadership. We have been in the scriptural domain. Now we shall go into the theoretical domain, so that in our next class we can now feel that we have the context of leadership, and now we can look into different constructs of leadership. So I would like to ask us to turn to our class text and go to page Roman 17, introduction. introduction, Romans 17. I think I want us to go through that introduction because it gives us perspective. And then I'll tell you what I want us to look at very quickly, randomly, on those 4 chapters. So, can I have a reader? And I hope Nazarene and Magdalene and Meshach and Mwaka are really recording down, because the big part of that A will come from participation. Shaban Abdul, why don't you start us off with the introduction? Read us the first paragraph.
Yes, thank you, sir. Currently, I've not seen the projection.
I don't have a projection. We are in the book.
Oh,
Shaban,
thank you,
Naz,
thank you.
you can help me pick up those who want to read Nazarene, if you don't mind.
Yes,
Shaban,
I'm
you
on
have
it,
the book.
so let me. Yes, I have
book.
it, sir.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Okay, let's go. Romans 17.
Okay. Yes, Romans 17. We have the endorsements.
No.
Oh, introduction. Yes.
Yeah.
Introduction.
Yes. The introduction. The request by Prof. Ayiro for me to write an introduction to this timely book, The Art of Institutional Leadership, Unleashing the Potential of Emotional Intelligence, came as a great surprise. In discerning whether or not to accept, I did my background check on the author. The pastors at the Daystar University Marymount Catholic Chaplaincy are full of praise for Prof. Laban P. Ayiro, whom they say has united the various faiths around Daystar University. He leads by picking the broom and embraces the priestly prayer of Christ, that all may be one, that is John 17:21. Because of this finding, I am confident enough to write the introduction. The author has penned what he believes, lives, and practices.
Continue.
The art of institutional leadership, unleashing the potential of emotional intelligence, corroborates that leadership is both deeply personal and profoundly social. Similarly, religion shapes the core of personal beliefs and values, as well as an understanding of social relationships. It has an extensive reach and is an intensive force. Too often, religion is regarded from a passive distance and particularly with disdainful disregard.
Thank you. We'll stop there. Well done. Very good reading. Rebecca?
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. The art of institutional leadership, unleashing the potential of emotional intelligence, corroborates that leadership.
There are a paragraph behind us.
Sorry. The so-called secularization hypothesis proposed that the intimate connection between religion and society in the 19th century would gradually be replaced by a more fragmented society in which religion would play only a marginal role. However, analysis of this secularization hypothesis have not offered the expected support. It is doubtful on historical and empirical grounds that the 20th century is less Christian than preceding centuries. Instead of further decline, recent decades have seen a broadening of interest in spirituality in institutional reforms.
Continue.
For instance, the global financial crisis starting in 2008 and the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic
have led to a broad realization that neoliberalism, for all the material wealth that it has brought, fails to offer long-term solution to the moral, social, and spiritual dilemmas of our planet. In response, a significant market has developed, even in secular business and organizational leadership studies, for spiritual leadership, including serious academic studies on the subject.
Thank you. Very well done. But I'm not seeing faces. It's unfortunate. I need to get faces. Jacqueline Dege.
Thank you, Prof. The comeback of religion often takes the form of a renewed quest for spirituality as that which makes life valuable and meaningful. Prof. Ayiro has been courageous in situating religions and spirituality at the center of the management and leadership practices espoused in this book, which intermittently and constructively engages with scriptures and demonstrates the impact of religion or spirituality on leadership. Because of its multi-denominational approach, it lends itself to the adherents of the Abrahamic religion of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Prof. Ayiro asserts boldly that the visionary aspect of leadership is intertwined with the visionary aspect of religions. Religions are social constituents of present societies that need to be integrated into theories of leadership. In this book, he outlines in his depiction and examples how three distinct characteristics, particularly present in Abrahamic religion, can significantly impact leadership principles and practices. I believe in the existence of and relationship with God, the faith in and pursuit of a hereafter purpose, and the belief in and attempted adherence to a sacred scripture. Subsequently, he classifies two approaches to examine their impact on leadership, a scripture-based and an empirical-based lens. In this book, he demonstrates and highlights through different episodes how these distinct characteristics can either inform and blend into or transform and modify moral theories of leadership.
Thank you. Very well done. We'll go to Frederick Ochola, then come to Munachi.
Thank you, Prof. The integration of spirituality, faith, and leadership is well articulated in this book. Hence, its value to all leaders, irrespective of creed, culture, or status. This interest has been driven largely by longing to experience purpose and meaning at work on the part of the author. As I read the manuscript, I got to redefine my own perception of leadership. Could it be that leadership is a means to activate beliefs and values and raise the level of moral and spiritual maturity for both the leader and the led? My thesis of this book is that spirituality and leadership meet where calling, values, and actions come together.
Thank you very much, Ochola. Well done, Munachi.
Thank you. In the art of institutional leadership, Prof. Ayiro deviates from the norm of identifying the leadership vacuum to innovatively naming and resolving the leadership and management global crisis. The easy to read and apply 55 chapters are tightly knit and linked together, providing a new operating model for leadership and management. That is, a Christ-centered service that makes the leader not afraid to serve God and humanity for the same reward as St. Peter and St. Paul in Acts 12, 1-5, because such a leader will neither be alone nor lonely. Acts 12, 5b, 7 to 11. Prof. Ayiro confirms that the ultimate test of true leadership is the price that the leader pays and the reward the leader receives in serving God and the led. 2 Timothy 4, 7, 18. From Most Reverend Martin Kivuva Msonde, Archbishop, Catholic Archdiocese of Mombasa and Chairman, Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, June 29, 2021, the Feast of Saints Peter and Paul.
Yeah. Thank you very much. First of all, I keep thanking the bishop, the Archbishop Kivuva. We had many moments with him as I went through the book in his house in Mombasa. We had dinner together. We reflected, we prayed. And I was also trying to cut across the denominational divide. I am a Protestant, he's a Catholic. We debated with him, and I said I wanted this to come out clearly. This aspect of Abrahamic sex, that Abrahamic foundations for all religions is very, very important. And sometimes we try to define God, but we don't know which one of us knows who God is. But just to uphold a God, I think that is the intention. He did it very well. I would like Charles Mwindi to read us part 1. And I think I've done this before, but just read us part 1, and then we'll jump to the next chapter.
Thank you, Prof. Part 1, The Secret Seats. Over the past year, I have frequently thought of Robert Frost's short poem, The Secret Seats. A part of it reads, "We dance round in a ring and suppose, but the secret sits in the middle and knows. While I may not know Frost's secret, I do know there is more to life than dancing around the periphery. Yes, I know that safety, familiarity, and comfort reside on the edges of life, away from the heat and the heart. But I also know that wisdom, truth, beauty, fulfillment, and divine mystery reside in the center."
Yeah. My plea to this class is that thou shalt not dance on the periphery. So I want you to engage with this leadership course intensely so that you may know that wisdom, truth, beauty, fulfillment, and divine mystery sits at the center. So some of us want to dance at the periphery and say, so long as I get that paper, mimi bora tu nimepata your masters. If you say that, you're already cursing yourself. But if you decide to sit at the center, because that's where the secret is. If I say, let us read Edward's work, and by the way, my team, Nazarene and the rest, make sure we send these presentations of today. They are very critical. If you sit at the center, you'll just begin to see yourself evolving into somebody very different. Even your level of argument, perseverance, consideration, forgiveness, all these aspects begin to come through you by not supposing. Unajua, that's the problem. We suppose. About 5 weeks ago, I went to chapel and said, one of my dreams before I exit Daystar is that we are going to have a school of medicine. Just a statement. And I realized what it means when you put faith at the center. And on this collaboration trip already, we have met very strong prospects of people who actually want to come next month, March, to look at prospects of funding a medical school at Daystar. The secret sits at the center. Sasa kama ningekuwa tu hapa na I'm enjoying the niceties of my office and drivers and the privileges and taking tea from China cups, not going out there in the baridi and using styrofoam cups, and nobody cares who you are. Where would the School of Medicine come from? That is what I'm looking for. I want disciples out of this class who will begin to think like Edwards and know that God is sovereign and the holiness of God and the totality of our being under God. Nothing is impossible. But it will not happen if you are sitting on the periphery and dancing and assuming. Then when everybody has danced, you now go to the center and you dance yourself lame, but there's nothing you're picking from there. That's what we are saying. So when we say this is like part of your conviction to be a leader, this is our class text. I'm hoping that by the end of next year, I'll have brought out this book that ELP wants to publish. But we must have leadership books coming from ourselves, for heaven's sake. Then our professorships will be justified and God will glorify our efforts. And then 300 years from now, there'll still be a mention of Ayiro when I'll have turned into petrol. I'll have fossilized, I'll have turned into petrol, but people will still be talking about it. Brenda Ndume, Brenda Ndume, and I just want us to go through chapter 1, and all the hands up, we shall pick you, because I want to give you a direction on how I want you to read this book. Then we will stop there for today, and I can wrap up the presentations. Brenda, start us off on how we communicate matters. And Nazarene and my team, can you take roll call? And now we are people of virtue. We are virtuous. So we shall say, I have a book or I don't have a book. And nobody is taking you to committee. That is now you and your conscience. So I want to know how many books are in this class. If you want to dance at the periphery like that other university, and I don't want to name names, where people go to lecture halls and they scribble notes, and then they, after 3 months, they go and do a test and they regurgitate what they copied. That's them, not us. Us, we will dance at the center where there's the heat, there is the mystery, there is the beauty, and there is the wisdom. Brenda, twende mbele.
Thank you, Prof. How we communicate matters. I mentally engage with words until they capture and convey my ideas in a precise manner that gives impetus to the intended need, catalyze action, and evoke the desired spirit. I invent dogmas and style signature calls and create a unifying philosophy, all because I understand that language matters.
Pause.
I was appointed headmaster.
Pause. I don't know whether you understand. I engage with words until they capture and convey my ideas. So today at Daystar, many people have picked scripts that when you mention them, they'll say that's the VCs. Many. But what is the intention? The intention is to catalyze, to ingrain that thinking. So I talk about useless virtue. when people are saying, oh, so and so now is very fat, or so and so has bought a new shoes, or did you see the car she's driving? That is called useless virtue. And I will denounce it in chapel. I abhor inertia. I came back on Thursday night, Friday I was at the funeral, today I'm in class. Tomorrow church, Monday we have a long management meeting. We abhor inertia. Hii inertia, hii kwenda kama mkokoteni. They will tell you that is a typical script. What do you do as a leader? You know, sometimes, I don't know, I don't want to get into politics, but I hear names being shouted. And then, and me, I'm neutral. Me, I'm an orphan. Since Kanu died, I'm neither here nor there. So I don't talk one term, two term. But I ask myself, what does one term, two term really mean? When I tell Daystar I don't want useless inertia, and I don't want useless virtue and inertia. I don't want timidity. They know what I am saying.
Sorry to interrupt, sir.
Yes.
I have one for you. You must punish yourself.
Who is that crazy fellow?
Vincent.
Okay.
Yeah. Those phrases stick.
Yeah, you must punish yourself. And it means something. You know what I mean? That's very important. Carry on, our reader, please. Brenda, was it Brenda?
Okay. I was appointed headmaster of Kegoya Secondary School in Vihiga County in 1985. It was then a one-stream school with only 72 students. If someone had tried to tell me that my effectiveness as a leader would often hinge on something as inconsequential as word choice, I would not have given it a second thought. Buoyed with the appointment as headmaster, I would have perhaps thought, as long as I can convey my ideas, it will be just fine. And I would have been dead wrong. The truth is, leaders rise and fall based on the language they use to communicate. Indeed, whole visions and missions live or die based on the words the leader chooses to espouse that vision and mission. When you sound out endearing...
Pause. I want that underlined, highlighted. That paragraph. Leaders rise and fall based on the language they use to communicate. Indeed, whole visions and missions live or die based on the words of the leader chooses to espouse that vision or mission. So you highlight that, you underline, but you then annotate. You annotate. You don't use, you try to interpret my thinking, or you conceptualize your own understanding of that paragraph. So, leadership, I would have written myself, I don't know what you'd write. Leadership is a function of communication. In the margin, somewhere, this is my book. Leadership is a function of communication. What have you done there? You have highlighted and you have annotated. And remember, annotation is your own conceptualization of that understanding. Somebody else could say communication is indispensable, or appropriate communication is critical. You use your own words, your own conceptualization. Then you are becoming a thinker. Carry on.
When you send out endearing words to a vision or motive, it becomes undeniable and self-evident. It begins to live.
Highlight. When you sound out endearing words to a vision or a motive, it becomes undeniable and self-evident. It begins to live. So if I've highlighted that and you're in Ayiro's class, one would begin to say, what is this saying? Endearing words. What does that mean? It means these are strong words spoken with a soft heart. I'm just giving an example. This is what it would mean. So when I say, I want my master's class cohort 3 to have strong minds, but soft hearts. I want you to read that again when you sound. Go ahead.
When you sound out endearing words to a vision or a motive, it becomes
Close to you.
undeniable and self-evident. It begins to live. Pardon?
Carry on.
It becomes memorable and powerful. It becomes weight-bearing, and eventually everyone around you champions for it. They defend it with vigor. They pray for it and give to it with an enduring fortitude.
Yeah.
When I needed examination candidates to make greater effort while at
Yeah. I don't know how to say it. That when you have a memorable and powerful script, it becomes weight-bearing. In fact, it then forms part of the spiritual sounding of an institution. For example, in management, I tell my management, you know, when we come in this management, we are getting into a tunnel of chaos. So when you are in management, don't fear what you are saying. Tell us, do you agree with what we are saying or the VC is saying? We argue, we quarrel, we sweat. But when we have walked out of the tunnel of chaos, we become one. So everybody, when I say, this is our tunnel of chaos, everybody understands that you are free to bring out your arguments. Carry on. Are you still there?
Well, at Sunshine Secondary School, I would coach. Yes, I'm here, Prof.
Yeah.
When I needed examination candidates to make greater effort while at Sunshine Secondary School, I would quote from Theodore Roosevelt's famous speech, The Strenuous Life. I would share words of inspiration from the speech and plead with them to adopt the doctrine of the strenuous life. An excerpt from the speech reads, I wish to preach not the doctrine of ignoble ease, but the doctrine of the strenuous life, the life of toil and effort, of labor and strife, to preach that highest form of success which comes not to the man who desires mere easy peace, but to the man who does not shrink from danger, from hardship, or from bitter toil, and who, out of these wins, the splendid ultimate triumph.
Thank you.
I will then thunder. Prof.
Pause there. I think I've emphasized that you must have endearing. The word is endearing words to a vision or a motive. And you keep communicating it until it becomes part of your ecosystem. Violet Akibaya, and then Moses Otieno, and Seli Wafula, and Mary Njambi will go in that order.
Thank you so much, Prof. I will then thunder that you are rooting out the poor spirits. At Moi University, I will implore all they lift their EQ, while at Daystar University, I'll plead for authenticity, logic, and empathy. The student body, as well as the staff, will all get what I was saying immediately. It was like speaking to the already converted. I often take long walks around our campus in search of one keyword for a leadership talk I'm working on. I've been known by my family to devote an entire night using my wife as a soundboard to nail single sentence for an important talk on vision that I need to give at my school, university, or at a speaking engagement I'm invited to. One was posted to the then Western Province as the Provincial Director of Education. My wife and I stayed up until 3 a.m., wondering and searching out for the most penetrating and apt statement I'll use to awaken a province that was performing so poorly academically. Bingo, she shouted. Ezekiel 37, the Valley of Dry Bones. What an impact this had in rallying and awakening the whole province to begin to rattle and assemble its purpose so as to stand up nationally and breathe again. Sounds insane to you. Without doubt, words really do matter. And leaders must pay the price to choose the right ones, because they do. When they do, the reward is huge.
Thank you very much. Good reading. So I think that we will not belabor the point. We will not belabor the point. Words do matter. Next reader. I thought it was Violet. Are we communicating? Is she there?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, please.
It's Violet, we just read.
Violet, I've just finished,
Violet,
Prof.
so is next. I gave you the list.
Should be Moses, then Seli Wafula.
It is Moses Otieno.
Yes.
Seli, and then Jambi or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moses, are you there?
Yes, I'm in, Prof.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So I start from Daystar. Daystar University, for example, just went through a tedious strategic planning process. It took us 12.5 months to do it, but I know the benefits will surpass by far whatever time and energy we devoted to getting it right. Management and senior staff met repeatedly to talk about what was firing them up. That conversation kept coming back to 4 key values: Christ-centeredness, soft hearts, strong minds, and serving hands.
Pause.
With that,
pause.
Thank you.
Highlight the conversation up to serving hands. So if you highlight those, you then ask yourself, what is this author putting across? So in your annotation, you would be talking about ethos of Daystar, or imperatives for Daystar, or drivers of Daystar, etc. So we are now doing highlighting and annotation, which we have seen from Edwards' work, Jonathan Edwards' work, is what makes a difference. Carry on. Moses?
Okay, I'll proceed. With that resolved, many of our faculty members were relieved. Finally, they thought, we know exactly what God wants us to focus on. But those of us with a few decades of leadership experience under our belt knew our work had only begun. We knew that if we wanted to raise institutional enthusiasm for our strategic plan, we were going to have a search for words that would capture the hearts and minds of our community and move them to action. It was a task that proved every bit as difficult as discerning the key values in the first place. But after dozens of capitalizations, we landed on the right words. For example, we did not want to talk merely about Christ-centeredness. Instead, we said that we wanted to raise the level of sacrifice in our attempt to point people to faith in Christ. Daystar has always been a Christ-centered university, a characteristic that evoke the spirit of humility that is so fundamental to our university. To think that after 30 years, our university would be more Christ-centered than it had ever been got people up fast. Thankfully, our Christ-centered description of our ethos instantly elicited people's very best energy, something we would desperately need if we hope to mobilize our entire university towards higher levels of spiritual engagement. Next up was soft hearts, but we did not want to talk merely about soft hearts. Instead, we chose to do something that had never been done before in the history of our university. We built an apology right into the verbiage of our strategic plan that our past turbulences were a consequence of people having hard hearts. We were going to rethink how to turn people towards softening their hearts. It was a confession of sorts. We were admitting that we should have been doing better at challenging ourselves, and so we promised we would marshal the best ideas, tools, and resources and make improvements going forward. Rethinking implied both honesty about our effectiveness or lack thereof in the past and intentionality regarding the future. We were going to turn over every stone to help move Daystar University boldly towards actualization of its vision. And the university community loved it.
Oh, pause there, stop there. I don't know what you would do in terms of, just give me a minute, reflect. Want that whole area highlighted, the whole of it. And then I would want somebody to tell me, what are we distilling from this author? So highlighting doesn't just mean a few sentences. You can highlight 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs and say what you want to say. So go ahead.
Continue. I think it dropped. Mishak, we can have the next person.
Yes, we can move on.
Yeah, so can I get somebody who would want to give me a descriptive for the annotation? All that talk. What are we calling for?
Can I try?
Yeah, please. There are
This
no
is
wrong or right answers. Yeah.
This is Jacqueline Muse.
Yes.
I think here we are looking for the catchwords that are going to describe the 4 key values that we had mentioned in page 4. Yeah.
So what would we say? What would we say what is the analysis? What is the synthesis of what the author is saying?
He's saying that I think he's saying that after getting the values or identifying the values, there's more into the work that is supposed to be put in, the effort that is supposed to be put in, so that it is geared towards realizing those values. It is not just about setting the values, but there's work to be done, and the how of doing it.
So I'm still waiting for your annotation statement. Anybody else? You have tried. I know where you're going.
Can I say something?
Please.
Can I try, please? So what I've written is that our choice of words should be the result of a reflective process, and it is important how we articulate them. But there's also what I saw, and I don't know if this is what you're looking for. There were so many we's, we, and so it is this sense of teamwork that punctuates every strategy and every next step that you want to cover. That's what I've gotten from that. But the words that we use is a process. It's a reflective process, and we don't settle until we get that which captures the essence of where we think we're heading.
Yeah, I like reflective process. Towards what?
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Hello?
go ahead. Yeah.
I think what I'm getting from the text, the way we communicate the team matters a lot. Our communication can demean or can kill the team, or can carry the team vision and mission to the next level. So there is power in communication.
Very important. But here.
Can I say something, Prof?
Yes, who is that?
This is Anastasia.
Anastasia, go ahead.
I'm reading those 4 key values, but there's a statement that has just captured my attention of making the entire university, or rather growing it towards higher levels of spiritual engagement. So it's not only Christ-centered, not only anyone, but what will grow the university to a higher level of spiritual engagement. For me, higher level of spiritual engagement means a lot of commitment into work, and that is what is explained in the next paragraph. Engaging, bringing everybody on board in closer thinking to higher, introspection of what would bring DESTA into a better institution in terms of engaging with God. And that is what I'm reading in that next paragraph there.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, go ahead. One more, then I'll tell you a summary.
Okay. What I'm getting from what you have read is that leaders should choose words that resonate with the people. For example, if you're a leader, you're supposed to choose words that connect to the people's feelings, things that they believe in. What are their beliefs? What do you share in common as an institution? Thank you.
Very good. All that you have suggested reflects the thinking of the author here. That's what I'm trying to say. And now we are bringing that thinking to you to synthesize what the author is saying and be able to justify it. By the way, the hidden thing here is we have been having values, but we have not been formed. We have not been formed. And that's why when somebody was talking about spiritual awareness, I buy that. Because leadership is spiritual. So what has been missing? We must ask ourselves, what has been missing? Next reader. I can see time is against us. Next reader.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Then we coined the catchphrase, strong minds. Instead of just saying we were going to have strong minds, we said that we were going to unleash unprecedented amount of energy into our intellectual engagements. When people heard that catchphrase during vision formulation, they applauded heartily. We had struck a deep chord with a community mainly because of the careful selection of just two words, unleash and unprecedented. We adopted the philosophy of soft heart, strong mind, and serving hands. Even the prosody of the terms was important to our leadership teams as we thought through what language to use. At the risk of piling on, let me say it again. Endearing communication matters.
Yes, highlight. Endearing communication matters. Endearing. And so in your annotation, you are saying communication that touches the heart matters. Next reader.
We try to apply the same rigorous approach to message tilting as well.
Titling.
Titling, sorry. One time I worked with a concept for 6 months before I was finally able to label it. I kept explaining to my staff the sense of frustration I was feeling over the quality of instruction and the reading culture at both Sunshine School and Daystar University. But they did not latch onto that term, so I tried another. It's like a sense of latent frustration. But all I got in return were blank stares. Obviously, the word was not striking a chord. Those two words just did not resonate with my two communities. Frustration and latent frustration did not attract their attention in the same way the actual concept was resonating in me. I kept at it until I finally uttered the phrase constructively discontent. Once I uttered that word, people went crazy. Finally, they could relate to it. Instinctively, they knew what it meant. And instantly, they wanted to know more. Later, I felt that the word should be spread across Kenya. It eventually turned me into a consultant. That is the beautiful byproduct of choosing the right words.
Pause. Constructively discontent. And that's what I'm asking you in this leadership course. I want you to be constructively discontent. And that's why you'll be searching at the works of Jonathan Edwards and our biblical leaders we have referred to today, starting with Moses, ending with Paul, and other leaders we are going to look at. But you must be constructively discontent. You must be discontent, and then you try to construct your own conceptualization that will pull you out of that discontentedness. So in the notation, if you have highlighted constructively discontent, I would have said this myself. This offers impetus and energy for reformation.
Excuse me, Prof.
Yeah.
Would you kindly expound on how one can be constructively discontent? Because
Yes.
I didn't understand it. I understood it differently, and I thought I would have applied it on how I had understood latent frustration. I had thought of it as concealed frustration instead.
Yeah,
So
that is hidden. That is hidden. But this is constructively discontent. You are a solution finder. You are not just frustrated. So you get into a solution, you want to change the mindset, you want to cause formation or even transformation. So you become discontent to say, but we have done this for 30 years. We are not going where we are supposed to go. Let us reconstruct ourselves.
So to just get that I'm getting it right, you see a problem, then you get frustrated, and then you try to get a solution for that problem.
Yeah, so you are constructively, not destructively.
Oh.
Yeah. Next reader.
In personal conversations, I exercise this same discipline. If I need to have a significant conversation with a colleague, I write down my thoughts in my diary before I set foot in a meeting. The other person is probably going to remember only a few sentences from our conversation, so I want to work hard to select memorable catchphrases. For instance, if a serious problem exists with an underperforming staff member, especially if that person has been confronted by others before my meeting with them, I might look at them and say, this is a big worry for me. What we are dealing with right here, right now, is a matter of great concern, urgency, and importance. If this behavior does not change forthwith, you will be asked to make choices. This is what I want you to bear in mind as you walk out of my office today. Please take me seriously. Are we clear? We usually are.
Yeah. So if you go to the paragraph before that, I write down my thoughts, highlight that in my diary before I set foot in a meeting. Annotate the value of preparation. Some of you are invited to your local church to go and talk about mental health, to go and talk about performance, to go and talk about the value of educating the girl child. And you don't prepare. So you go up in front and you speak the obvious. You have lost that opportunity, there is no impact. You must always, even the simplest meeting you are invited to, find time to prepare and get impactful words that will give you authority to affirm yourself. So, you know, sometimes I get so frustrated. I am anxious to go and listen to somebody, and when they come out there, they are talking the obvious. You can see this person had made no effort to add value to the chance God had given them to talk to his people. The last reader for tonight, as we wrap up, I'll Magdalene note that I have to, the next class, I have to do the virtue-based leadership slides. I did not have time. Value-based leadership slides, yeah. The last reader, please read.
Let me read. In other situations, in which the other person may believe the stakes are high, when in fact they are not, I will relieve them early in the conversation by saying, for example, this subject on extra teaching is important, but please understand me. We are not in a desperate situation. There are no indications that people are resisting, and no secret meetings are being held against it. Are you with me? What am I saying? What I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is that I will continue. Over a reasonable period of time, your head of department and I need to see dramatic improvement in this area. The only thing that I am after today is for you to affirm your strong commitment to the program. Is this fair? Language matters. The right words will make vision talk flourish. Carefully chosen phrases can make strategic plans sound like the Bible. Do the work and you will experience the reward. End of the reading.
Very good. Can you highlight that last paragraph? Language matters. Can you highlight that last paragraph? That language matters. Up to the end. And because of time, I would have liked us to discuss the annotation, but I want you to note that leadership is, no, I want you to note that communication is a critical variable in leadership. And therefore, continue writing, when preparing to communicate, learn to experience and analyze other thinkers. Learn to experience and analyze other thinkers using their perspectives to catalyze and refine your own. Full stop. It is important that your thoughts and ideas must work themselves out. It is important that your thoughts and ideas must work themselves out into your heart and life. Into your heart and life. Full stop. I would like to end there. We can't go to the wrap-up slide. I'll do that next time. But you now have an idea of how I want these chapters read. And you have an idea, although it is still germinating, of highlighting and annotating your work. And so I am looking forward to the summary of the chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's have it submitted before the next class. And please, Nazarene and the team, take note of that. We will then be looking at the framework for virtuous leadership next class. And then I'll also be giving you the main presentation on leadership in the 21st century, anchored on virtue, emotional intelligence, and scriptural foundations. Thank you very much for your patience, and I'm glad we have almost caught up for the time we have lost. But remember our motive in this class: there are no exams. We will assess you as we have agreed, and then you are going to give yourself the final grade. So you'll tell me, I deserve an A, and we'll look at your participation, we'll look at your assignments, but we'll also look at how much you have engaged with the book, the class book.
Excuse, Prof.
Yes.
I was requesting if I can be allowed to pull down my assignment, then submit again afresh.
That's fine. That's no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody has up to next week, Saturday. Yeah. Okay, over to
Right,
the...
thank you. You can appreciate Prof. Thank you so much, Prof. And for up to 9, that's really pulling yourself with the jet lag. With nobody even knows that you've just traveled and arrived, so they may not understand, but we thank God. And for students, just know sure that Mishak is the one on technical. So whenever you want anything on e-learning, don't come and ask me, how do I get to a draft? That can only be Mishak's. Or I'm not on the DU online. That can only be Mishak. When it comes to reviewing assessments, just know that Dr. Nazarene is there to support the VC to ensure that your assessments are reviewed. In terms of communicating specific lecture matters to the instructor, myself and Magdalene are there so that we can be able to support you. Matters grades, anything like that, of course, I am available to know what you need. In case you missed out on a grade, you got an X or an F, and that is not genuine, and you'd like, that is me. So let's not mix who plays what in terms of responsibility. Vincent, I think you'll be the better person to talk on behalf of the class today. I know Mark talks every other time, but let me just choose randomly what is your takeaway as the class ends, and what you want to let the VC know, Prof, in this class.
No, not at all. We want to close the class. Huh?
Yeah, we are closing. Yes, Vincent.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Prof, we want to appreciate the input and the way you're stretching yourself also to make sure that we're covering ground. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of colleagues to say we appreciate the sacrifice that you're putting to strengthen us in our learning and in our journey in leadership. We really thank you for that. Apart from that, we want to wish you good night, rest well, recoup. We're looking forward to more sessions with you.
Asante.
All right. Thank you so much. God bless you, all of us, so we can meet next week on Thursday, Saturday, and this otherwise we'll be able to communicate. Thank you, VC, and thank you, everyone. So